Welcome to another episode of the Oxygen Not Included Beginner's Guide series. And today I was thinking of doing more of these sweepers into the base and looking more into automation, but the other thing I was considering is getting another oxygen production online. As you can see, our storage bins for algae is a little low. There's plenty still to dig up, but it wouldn't hurt to have another system in place. So I have spent some time looking at different versions that you can do for this setup. So I'm going to jump into a sandbox world to show you those. Here we are in the sandbox world, and it may look like a lot right now, but there's actually 3 separate setups here. And then I have something that will allow me to jumpstart the systems. Once they're running, they are self-sufficient, but you do initially need to give them power. So that's what this setup is. So let's focus in on the first one we have here. And this one is probably my least favorite. It kind of relies on potentially a bit of a glitch, and it can't be replicated mirrored, and I have seen it just not work in some places. So keep that in mind. But the way this guy works, I'll first go through what we have here. So we have a smart battery, we have Atmos sensors so that these guys aren't running all the time. These are gas pumps, which you can see here is pulling out oxygen. And then this is hydrogen with another pump, and then we're using that hydrogen to power a hydrogen generator, which is why they are self-sufficient. And then down in here, I have an electrolyzer, which is going to be the main part to oxygen production for all of these systems. Most of these parts are in all of these systems, but this is the thing that's producing our oxygen, and it takes water, like you can see here. So what we need for this one to work is you need to take in some water and put it into the electrolyzer. What I have right here is some radiant pipes so that the water from our pool is cooling the oxygen that's produced on its way to being turned into oxygen. So that helps make the air about the same temperature as your water source. So the water goes in. What this will do it will produce oxygen, hydrogen, heat, as you can see all of that here. And then in a normal circumstance, it pumps out both the hydrogen and the oxygen, and you'll need to be separating it. And that's kind of the main difference between all of these, is the method for separating that hydrogen and the oxygen. So the way it's separating it in this one, and what part of it is a bit glitchy, is you have an open space right here and an airflow tile. We have 2 different types of liquid here. We have both brine and water. By having a little bit of these 2 liquids, the electrolyzer doesn't think that it is underwater, and so it will continue to produce, even though most times when it would be under liquid, it would stop working. And the way it picks where it sends out each bit of oxygen and hydrogen is it will always put out the hydrogen above and the oxygen off to the side. So then it is, just as it's putting out those gases, it's separating it itself. Because it's under these liquids, though, it cannot tell when it is overpressurized, so you have to have some automation to turn it off. So this one, it's using an Atmos sensor here to detect, and if there's enough oxygen in this room, it will turn off the electrolyzer, so it's not overproducing all of the time. This one is detecting once it gets to above a certain pressure, it'll pump it out, so that way if it gets too low, it's not basically pumping out a vacuum. And same goes here. And again, the different gases are being separated. So the oxygen is going to wherever you need it, into your base for your dupes. And then the hydrogen is being picked up here and sent into this guy, which is producing power. And as always, we want some automation between the smart battery and the generator, just so that this isn't always running. So you'll have this set at something, probably something like this. And if you want this happening before like generators, like coal generators, then you would just raise this up and have them like coal at 50, these at 60, that kind of thing. So these will kick on before and only use coal in emergency, kind of a deal. Also, I should have said this at the start, but I got this layout from Nathan's Sandbox, a channel that does a lot of YouTube-y stuff at the moment. Did I say that's doing a lot of YouTube-y stuff? He's doing a lot of Oxygen Not Included stuff? What did I say? But yes, Nathan's Sandbox. So before moving on, I will real quick show off each of the filters. So this is the power. Excuse the fact that these wires are different than these ones. To get rid of it, in Sandbox, I just have to delete everything to redo it, so just use the same wires. So here is the wiring system that I have going on. Here's the plumbing. These are radiant pipes, and these are regular pipes. And then ventilation. So here you can see us venting out the oxygen into this room. Here's where the hydrogen is going. Here's automation. So you guys can use that if you want to build something along these lines. I haven't done a whole lot of messing around with this, but these are the numbers I have at the moment. I think that's everything you would need to see there. So then let's move to the next one. This setup is from a YouTube user as well, and this one's from Magnet. And so I will walk through how this one works. Here you have the liquid going in. The radiant pipes is my addition. What he does instead is he takes the oxygen that's hot out and then runs it through a pool of cool liquid to cool off the oxygen before sending it in. But this is what I've done for now. Radiant pipes going up into the electrolyzer. Then this one works on the principle of how gases sit naturally. So if we look here, hydrogen will always sit above oxygen. So what happens is as this fills up, as long as you have the sensor right, it won't ever fully take out all of the hydrogen. So when this produces, there's no space for oxygen up here, just more hydrogen, so the oxygen will stay on this lower half. The one negative to this setup is initially your hydrogen generator will probably take damage. As you can see here, I have taken some damage because you have to get to that point where this is all hydrogen and filled up, so it will take in a little bit of oxygen initially. But if you have dupes around, that's an easy fix, and it should only happen at the very start, and then once this is established, it won't ever happen again. And then again, we have the pressure sensor here, which is then helping maintain some hydrogen in this area, but also vent out some into the generator. And then these two are just taking in the oxygen and sending that into our room. So here we can see the power. And again, you only really need to be connected to this battery at the start to jump start the system, but after that you could just disconnect it right here. We have our plumbing. I guess we could be using the HUD up there, but meh. We have ventilation. As you can see, send it out. I tried to give a bit of distance for these pipes because if you do something like run this one into this one, only one will really run because it will be too full. So it needs a little bit of space. So that's why I've given a little more distance between these two. And then automation, as you can see here, with the battery and the generator as usual. This is the settings I have on this. Again, this would be something that you would adjust as you play through it. And then this one is one that I used to use a long time ago. So it's a little less complicated and but complicated in different ways, I suppose. So you just have the electrolyzer just pumping into a room, and then you use a filter system. So we have the two here. We're checking for the pressure so that we're not trying to pump out into a vacuum. And then we have a filter right here. So any hydrogen that this picks up will go into the generator, and then all the oxygen just leaves. Again, we have the water pipes going in and radiating in the room where the oxygen is being produced. We have our ventilation, as you saw earlier. We have a pipe going in and filtering, and then we've got the hydrogen going off, and then our oxygen going into here. Our typical automation going there, and then obviously we've got the pressure sensor disabling these as necessary. So yes, those are the 3 types that I think you can use. Again, I think this one's the least reliable just because I've seen it. I think Nathan had problems with it not working on one of the planets he traveled to with the DLC, and again, it can't be mirrored because it has to be the oxygen goes out this direction, whereas these can be a little more versatile on the space that they take up or the shape of them, as long as all the parts are there. Like, obviously this one barely has any shape to it. In this one, you just need to make sure that there's a place for the hydrogen to pool and enough for it to cover the top, but like you can flip it or anything like that and it'll still work. So I thought I would show you these running real quick. This one, it still needs its jump start because I built it last, but here you can see the liquid going in, the ventilation, so you can see how this one's filtering, and this is how some of the automation is working. So yeah, those are the examples we have going for now. So as we've been running it, it does appear that this one is a little less capable of being self-sufficient. So it could be an easy early setup, but it's probably not the one you want to rely on. That stopped leaving my power cord, that certainly helped. But yeah, I think it's just because this has to be running all of the time that it's not as efficient as these guys when it comes to the power. Alright, so we are back in our regular save file, and I'm thinking I might put the oxygen on this side of the base. We don't have nearly as much stuff going on over here, and this side is going to be a bit warmer at the moment, so that's why I'm going to, I think, put it right here. I do need to be aware that there is a volcano right here. It is a steam volcano. A cheaty way to check that, if you don't want to dig it out, is the top priority. So now you can see that it is a steam vent. So I'm going to just go ahead and leave that guy where he is. And then start planning our oxygen setup. I also should probably make sure that we have the research that we need for this. So we'll need the electrolyzer, which we have indeed researched. We will also need the hydrogen generator. We have that researched. We need the pressure sensors, Atmos sensor, which we have. And then we have, I think, everything else that we'll need. I'm going to try to mirror it. We'll see how successful I am at that. The hard part when it comes to actually building these in the base is you have to remember that dupes need to be able to get in and do their work and not get caught. Whereas when you're in Sandbox, it's easy to just get the final product and be done. So right now I have the start, but I have to leave some of this empty so that our dupes can get in here and actually work. So we're going to let them get that started. We need to redo this wiring situation. It's so easy to get to spaghetti. I'm completing research in the background. We've made some progress in building, so that's good. We're going to want to make sure that we get all this stuff swept out of it. We don't really want people coming in and out of this once it's running. You could technically make this whole thing a closed system so that they have no way to enter it once it's fully built, but I find that if there's anything that goes wrong, you don't want to have to take everything down, build new water locks, so I just kind of like having them built into the system. Made a mess. Nesbit? Ah. That's unfortunate. So we need to Take that bit of sand there. And we can expect a mess at the suits when they Nesbit comes in. Which is a bit annoying, but that'll just get dumped over here. I had to turn on the low-key top priority button because there is like a red alert, but I turned on yellow alert because they were just not bringing water over here. And I actually have pretty decent gases in here already, kind of the ones that we want. I did have to put in a deodorizer because there was like 3 bubbles of polluted oxygen in here with the slime lung, so I did have to get rid of that. But now it has all of the right gases in it, so can we not have that going just yet? Oh, it won't. Okay, it has nowhere to go. But eventually we'll pump the oxygen up into here, but for now it didn't want that running. But yeah, so deodorizer, got rid of that, so now I can get rid of it. So what I'm working on now is getting this stuff swapped, because after that I have to build the electrolyzer right here, and once that's done, there's no really accessing this area unless I break into it here. So trying to make sure that I have this exactly how I want. So I have our ventilation sorted for this portion. This is going to be the one picking up the hydrogen, and it's going to go into this area. I have made sure that I have the electricity up into this area, and the automation is working. So once that bit of copper has been moved, I will be able to remove this ladder and build our electrolyzer. Unfortunately, the dupes could not build this through a corner, so I've had to remove a bit of insulation so they can build this, and then we'll put the insulation back. Thank you, Nez. Oh, water. We need a bit of plumbing. Let's go ahead and disconnect the layer, though. Not quite ready for the system to start. Another thing I've been thinking about doing, though we aren't exactly lacking in food, there is a plant that requires carbon dioxide, and it's mushrooms. These dusk caps. So I've been considering putting some of those to grow down here since we have so much carbon dioxide, but another time. Okay, I think everything I need in this area is done. Let's close and off. And then we'll be able to take down these ladders, put in another one of these. Eventually I will be taking down this ladder, and this is where a battery will go. Alright, let us go through our HUDs. So we've got everything powered. We almost have all the water stuff, just need to connect this. We almost have the pipes set up. We may need a bridge in this situation. We'll have to check up on that. Okay, so it looks like everything's just about ready. So let's build that there, and then take down these ladders. We'll need the battery. Alright, I've connected the liquid pipe. I've got the battery started. Luckily, it's already going to be connected to everything as soon as it's built. So the last thing we'll need will be to jump start the system. Alright, so our liquid is already starting. So these yellow pipes are radiant. Let the save go. So they're going to be cooling off the air, so the oxygen, and then I brought it over here to cool off this guy in case it ends up getting a bit warm. So I'm going to, let's back the power. I'm going to jump start it here into the battery. Yes, I know you're overloaded, I'm so sorry. So I'm going to get that started. Initially this hydrogen generator is going to get some damage while we wait for this area to get fill with hydrogen. Luckily there was already some in here, so hopefully it won't be a whole lot. And then we'll just come in right here real quick and fix it once this is set up. The other thing we're going to need to do is connect to that pipe. But we're also going to need somewhere for this oxygen to be going, so I will probably vent here. And then I'm going to add a little switch somewhere around here so we can turn these guys off. And I'll just have them here in case of emergencies. So I have a gas vent here. I'll probably gas vent there. And then we will keep an eye on it and see where we end up needing the oxygen. So this guy should be running now. So we should be able to grab the wire in here and take that off. And then we're going to want to break into this for a sec and repair that. If you've noticed, I've had this door locked like this whole time. It's because this has a bunch of polluted oxygen stuff, and I didn't want any of that getting in here if I could help it. It does mean I'll probably want to get a deodorizer in here in one of the next episodes. There we go. Thank you, Marie. And then we can close this off again. So that will be our system. As you can see, it's doing just fine on its own power. Because we don't have that connected anywhere. I do have the pump connected to the main system. As you can see, the air comes out of here quite warm, which we will have to keep an eye on. I may need to wrap some radiant pipes along this area to cool the electrolyzer. So what temperature are we in here? 148? Ugh. I mean, its melting point is well above that, but still. If we ever feel like we need to cool this off, we could just bring the radiant pipe up into here. It'd be a pain in the butt, but we could do it. Also, because we saw somebody get stuck over here, the dupes have been exploring up the sides and stuff while we've been working here, which is nice. But I think that is going to be it for this episode. We've built this new oxygen production, so we won't have to rely on algae. We will be relying on water, however. But with things like the fact that we have a steam volcano right there and everything, or a steam geyser, getting water isn't going to be impossible. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. If you guys have questions or comments, leave them down below, and until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.